Robert Eggers is one of the best directors working today, but not every single one of his movies have been 10 out of 10, 100% cupcakes and rainbows. So let's just go ahead and rank them from worst to best. My least favorite Robert Eggers movie is... This was one of my most anticipated movies of last year. I'm talking top 2, maybe even number 1. I liked it. I gave this movie a positive review, but man, I had so many issues, and one of them were the jump scares. Robert Eggers, you're better than this. You made 3 movies, you went on a streak, and then you start feeling yourself. He started feeling himself. Eggers started feeling himself, started hanging out with all the wrong crowd, and then they're rubbing off of him, and now he's putting jump scares in his movies. What's going on? I'm coping by assuming that the studio held a flamethrower to his head and forced him to put like 3 to 4 jump scares in this movie, and if they didn't, they were gonna light him up. But if I ever hear that Robert Eggers, it was your idea to put these jump scares in this movie and you love the jump scares in this movie, you're gonna break my heart. Another issue I had with this movie is, look, this subplot with Nosferatu, Count Orlok's homie back in the real estate policy, he's doing rituals, he's going crazy, he's getting locked up in mental prisons, he's talking to birds and, eating birds. Why do we have to cut to him like 80,000 times? And also, one other thing. First of all, this movie looks absolutely beautiful. This is the most black and white movie that's not black and white. Like, the colors are washed out, it fits the mood, it fits the vibe, it's beautiful. The first half of this movie was a lot better than the second half. The first half, I love this movie, I love the vibes. The second half just got a little bit too repetitive, man. It was just like, okay, monologue from a chick that's getting tortured and going through like the worst thing ever. And then we cut to Nicholas Hoult like sweating and like having a fever or something. Then we cut back to the guy in prison eating a bird. Then we cut back and she's giving another monologue, and then Nicholas Hoult is like passing out of having a fever or whatever. And then we cut back to him and then he's running around the courtyard. You get my point. It just kind of got a little bit repetitive. I love the first half more because it's always moving and you're always seeing different things. When Nicholas Hoult is going to the folk town, they're dancing, they're hitting up the dance floor, they're giving him warnings, they're doing rituals, they're doing their thing to stay protected from all this dark stuff going around them. And Nicholas Hoult, I feel like he plays a perfect, I'm terrified, and I have like no spine to stick up for myself, and I'm gonna just go along with the horror until it's like 10 out of 10 danger. Lily Rose Depp knocked it out of the park. The physicality, the contortion of her body, very physical stuff. She nailed it absolutely. Bill Skarsgård as Count Orlok, the elephant in the room. I thought he was great. Did I love the mustache? I kind of did. I can understand if you hated it and once it gone and burned with fire, especially with a huge flamethrower. That's okay. Just kind of wanted to see a little bit more of him, but not in the way that you might think that I mean.
Why do they doubt the kid? I'm about to prove them all wrong again. I got a little tolerance because they know what the problem is.
I just wanted to feel the dread, the loom, the presence of like impending doom type thingy, and I got that. I got like 75% of that, but I just wanted that 25% more, if you know what I mean. That 25% more would have really went above and beyond. Aaron Taylor Johnson, apparently like a lot of people aren't a fan of this performance. They think it's a little too cartoony, didn't fit. I disagree. I can understand if you thought he stuck out. I understand that, but that's kind of why I liked him. I'm feeling something. This is like a real person going through stuff. I like this character. I really did. I like this personality. I like this performance. Willem Dafoe knocks it out of the park, as usual. Also, the ending I liked. I liked how it ended, and I liked the execution. I liked the final shot, but I just felt anticlimactic, and that's not always a bad thing. But I just felt it had more a sense of finality, gut punch to it, if you know what I mean. This movie was not scary. It was a little bit creepy, and I do think there's a difference between scary and creepy. Creepy is like the mood, the atmosphere, the vibe, the sense of something gonna happen, but you don't know what's really happened. This movie is more creepy. Yeah, not scary at all. It was a little bit creepy, but I just wanted to be more creepy. Shot of the shadow of the hand, absolutely brilliant. The sequence of the horse carriages, like the execution was simply masterful. I also love the production design, especially when the movie starts and Nicholas Hoult is still in his town. I love the aesthetic. I love the houses. I love the interior of the houses. I love the costumes. I love the vibes. I would live in that town easily. I also love the way they shot Nosferatu. He's always in the back. He's out of focus. You don't really see him clearly when you first meet him. It's the least rewatchable. And also, it's the movie that connects with me the least out of every single one of them. I honestly expected this to be top 2 Robert Eggers movies. Like, that was my expectations going in. Robert Eggers, Nosferatu. This seems like a dream movie, And I love the themes of this movie, you know, lust, greed, melancholia, societal expectations, you know. I just love the philosophy of this story. 7 out of 10. What's next? And number 3, we have The Northman. Listen, this was, again, one of my most anticipated movies of that year, 2022. When I watched it first, I didn't love it. I'm like, okay, I liked it, but... I watched it 2 more times since then, and I'm coming around to a lot more. This movie feels so authentic, it feels so real, so lived in, so raw, and I love the camera movements. The Mountain from Game of Thrones is in this movie, and he assaults a child. I'm not gonna lie, when that happened in that sports game, because that kid, you know, he was yelling at everyone, he was acting out of line, you know, he was out of line. Look, I love revenge movies, and I love the way that this movie kind of changes the formula of revenge movies, the way we think they're gonna go. And I absolutely loved what happens, you know, in the second half, and then you gotta rewatch the entire movie through a different lens. I love movies like that. And Skarsgård did a great job. Willem Dafoe, as usual, did a great job, although he has a smaller part. But Skarsgård, to be honest, like the hero himself didn't have that much personality, especially like in the first half. Yeah, we see him as a kid. And then when we get introduced to him, like he's just basically like a blank slate, just so hungry for revenge. You don't even know, does he like strawberries? Does he like to go on hikes? Well, like, can we know more about this guy? In the second half, I like him a lot more because the way he takes out his revenge, he is like kind of a theatrics guy, you know. There's a guy that kind of missing a nose. He does something to the guy with the nose that a person that's just like going for the target wouldn't do. He kind of likes the whole, you know, playing the hunter type thingy, and then he leans more into that. Something happens. I have no problem with that thing happening, but the way it was shot was just like, okay. It was shot in such a weird way where I don't really know what does that even mean. You know exactly what I'm talking about. Something to do with a sword. That's, yeah, the sword, the victim. This movie looks absolutely incredible. I just love the natural geography, the cultural elements of like these Vikings, these old civilizations. Like they play this weird sports game where like one of the big guys is literally just assaulting everyone. And you know, his uncle, right? The guy he wants to take out. I think the uncle was the best character in this entire movie, 100%. I love what more we learned about his character, the resolution of his character. That actor did an absolutely amazing job. He looks the part. Anya Taylor-Joy, her character has a very important purpose. The plot with her and the main character are very important and needed to be there for the story, for everything, right? But I just didn't buy that they would fall in love. You know, they kind of have the chemistry, but I don't know, it just didn't really connect with me the way it was executed. And there's 2 big action scenes in this movie. One, the pillaging scene, and one near the end. And the pillaging scene was absolutely incredible. The guard throws the spear and he grabs and he throws it again and he hits the dude. And then when the guy runs up on him on the horse, and then he knocks him off the horse and takes him out. Beautiful stuff. I loved it. I loved the way it was shot. It was not like some shaky cam, quick edit. And I thought the music was a vibe, you know, it blended in the scene. It's not those soundtracks where I'm like, oh, I need to listen to it right now after the movie, but it's like, you really appreciate it while you're watching the movie. And also, I love the resolution of this movie. Also, the guy he's trying to take revenge on, his eldest son, bro, he's just like this sack of wine that he's always like walking and acting like he's in edits. Like he's really feeling himself. He's really acting like he's him, like he's Superman or something. And I just couldn't stand him. Couldn't stand him at all. And there's a lot of like video gamey vibes from this movie. I get like this feels like a Skyrim or Witcher quest line or whatever, like especially the scene where he has to get the sword from the ancient statue or whatever, and then we get a whole fight scene. It turns out that it was like, you know, not what it seemed like. I really like that scene. I love that scene so much. And also I just love the themes of like the cycle of violence, how it's always turning, it's always perpetuating itself. You know, someone has to break the cycle, this and that, and securing your future from, you know, people that still want to do you harm because you did them harm, and they're not going to forget about it until they, you know, inflict that pain onto you. Also, Ethan Hawke and Nicole Kidman did an amazing job in this movie. Ethan Hawke, I think, is so underrated. I also didn't like all the farting parts near the beginning or whatever, but yeah, it was not a big issue. It's not like I'm taking points off, but I'm just like, okay, we get it. Like, Eggers has people farting in his movies. I feel like he's getting a little too cocky with his farts. So I think he needs to tone down the farts. But wait, before we get into the issues, I love this one, the shots of like the tree, like the spiritual tree of like their ancestors, their future generations. And like the shot where it like pans up and you see the main character as a kid on the tree. I think this movie was like 10 to 15 minutes too long. It kind of got repetitive in the second to third act, just a little bit. Yeah, I love this movie, and I don't think that the main character of this movie is as interesting as the next two movies I'm gonna be talking about. That's why it's in this place. And yeah, I really like The Northman. What do you guys think about The Northman? It's very polarizing. I heard one guy say this is the worst movie ever made. Like, that's a ridiculous statement, but whatever. Maybe that guy really hates this movie. I don't know.
On and on. It goes on and on and on and
Look, this movie, I didn't like at first. I watched it back when it came out, and I liked it. I respected it. I knew it was good, but it didn't click. It didn't connect with me. It didn't. I rewatched it not too long ago, thinking, for this video, I'm like, I'm probably gonna like it more, but it's probably not gonna, I thought I was gonna put The Northman above The Witch. After my rewatch, boy, it clicked. Wow, this clicked like a truck. It clicked like nothing's ever clicked before. Listen, look. This is the best story Robert Eggers has ever come up with. The father, Ralph Ineson, one of the most underrated actors literally working today, but his character, like the story of his character, I would say he is the best Robert Eggers character in my opinion. New England, I love those vibes. I love those older, like American New England vibes. The architecture, the clothes, the cultural aspects, Christianity, Salem witch trials, all that stuff. I'm in love with that entire vibe. I love it. I can't get enough. I honestly can't. This movie feels so authentic. The vibe is so strong and thick, and it freaking penetrates your soul. Anya Taylor-Joy, her character in this movie, again, one of the best Eggers characters like ever. This movie emotionally connected with me so deeply. I just get it. Like it's hitting me. But the child actors in this movie were pretty good. Every character in this movie was outstanding. It felt like a time capsule in a way. Obviously there's like, witches and this and all that stuff. This is a very creepy movie, and I'm glad there's not freaking 10,000 jump scares every 2.4 seconds, because I would have lost my marbles. But anyways, look, again, no spoilers, but the scene where the young kid, he's lost in the woods and he sees the house, and then he's like kind of getting seduced or whatever. The execution, how like the sound drowns out, and at that point it's just like dream-like vibe and stuff. Like outstanding scene. It really got to me. And that scene involving a hallucination, and then it cuts like the bird, hallucination, and then what's really going on, some bird doing some stuff. That really creeped, like I was like, wow, okay, like that was disturbing. That really got to me. It really got to me. And this movie I rewatched, and I was like, okay, wait, like, did I get that right? Is that what's really happening? Or do I need to think of it at this other angle? Or should I take that angle? Or should I take this angle? I'm like praying for a happy ending. Like a movie like this, I'm like, please have a happy ending. Really, like this movie stresses you out. I was low-key stressed out. And the ending of this movie, no spoilers. The ending of this movie was amazing. The execution was brilliant. Literally the last 20 minutes of this movie, borderline perfect. I also really like the music, and same with The Northman. It just fits the vibe. Half the time you don't really notice it, but once you do notice it, you're like, wow, I'm really liking this. I'm gonna make a statement. Are you ready for this statement? I don't think you are, but anyways, look. The best scene in any Robert Eggers movie, in my opinion, is when the father is, chopping wood, and then he finally breaks down and just says everything that, just speaking from the heart, breaks down. And that scene absolutely like hit me, like gut punched me. I got emotional. I'm not gonna lie to you. I got emotional. It really got to me. The father's performance, like I can't glaze enough. And the mother, same actress as Lysa Arryn from Game of Thrones, that sack of wine in that show. And I love the themes it explores, like religion, sinning, like going to hell, possessions, demons. Maybe it's this, maybe it's that, maybe it's not this. I like movies that kind of tackle spirituality and just kind of get into the weeds. And no spoilers, but once it is revealed what's really going on, you just start hearing words. I was like, oh, I like what's going on here. I like how they're executing this idea. I love it. Absolutely brilliant. Don't be surprised if this is my number one favorite Eggers movie, like in a year or whatever. Like the next time I update this ranking after his next movie or whatever. And at number one, yeah, you guessed it, it's Midsommar. Look, this movie really I'm just playing. Yeah, The Lighthouse is number one. I said that The Witch is a better story, but I view this movie, The Lighthouse, as more of an experience. Before this movie came out, I always wanted like a psychological horror movie taking place in a lighthouse, The Shining style. And this is pretty as close to that as it can get, directed by our boy Eggers. From the first, literally the first 2 minutes of this movie, and literally no dialogue is mentioned, I was like, okay, I'm good. Like, yep, this movie is gonna live up to the hype. Before the first word was even uttered, the opening, like, you know, you hear the blaring of the music. All the aspect ratio is super small. It helps the claustrophobia. It helps with the psychological fear, paranoia. Like, what's going on? I can't trust anyone. Can I even trust my own sight and ears? I love like Lovecraftian vibe. This movie has Lovecraftian vibes all over. There's like some Cthulhu thing going on. Willem Dafoe. The fact he didn't get nominated for an Oscar just says a lot. He felt like a real person. Like, I was like, that's not Willem Dafoe. That's like some dude from that era, from that setting, with that experience. And Robert Pattinson, I've been glazing this guy for a long time. I've been saying this guy's the most underrated guy in movies today. His character in this movie, look, I used to have a job, right? It was a very small job, you know, just me and one other person. This movie spoke to me on such a deep level, it's not even funny. The scene where he finally just says everything that he's been holding into Willem Dafoe. He's just like breaking down, just saying everything. I related to that scene so much, it's not even funny. This movie's hilarious. The Willem Dafoe insults in this movie.
You're too slow. You a dullard?
No, sir.
Fooled me.
Easy!
Keep still!
And he's being held together by lollipops and ropes. He's like dropping him freaking 10 feet at a time. He's literally like getting airtime how fast he's dropping. If that happened to me, I would have just ended it right there. That's all I'm saying. Also, I'm just really scared of water. So this movie, like the vibes, the creepiness really got under my skin. Like, and the mermaids stuff. Like, mermaids can be really creepy if you really think about it. Like, they live underwater. I had a cousin who thought mermaids were real. But anyways, that's a whole story for another day. And I absolutely love movies where people just go crazy. You know, they fall into madness. And you slowly go crazy with them. Also, I love the fact that this is in black and white. I think this is the best shot Eggers movie. And it could be tough hitting the right sweet spot of ambiguity, but I think this movie really does that, because some movies are too ambiguous, some movies are not ambiguous enough, and they just kind of tell you everything, and then all the fun mystery stuff is out. And this movie has a lot of hints of like Greek mythology and stuff. And Robert Eggers, his movies are so dense with knowledge, like Easter eggs in a way. It's one of my favorite horror movies of all time. It's absolutely hilarious and creepy as hell. And I'm gonna give The Lighthouse a 9 out of 10. So what is your favorite Robert Eggers movie? I am genuinely interested. I am very interested in your reasonings for what's your least and what's your most favorite Eggers movie. What did you think about you look like a Northman fan. You look like The Northman would be your number one. If I'm wrong, then comment below. What did you think about my list? Am I some idiot? Am I just right on all my takes? Let me know. Thank you guys. Bye.